Hello and welcome to Hub Notes, where I'm going to answer your questions about the Kia PV5. And I've got to be quite quick because this car goes back today. And in my rush, I've already forgotten my microphones. Great start. Ben Reynolds asks, how much space behind is required to safely open the tailgate? I guess we'll have to go outside for that one. So, electronic tailgate. If I stand here. Oh, it's detected me, so not that much. About that much. How much is that? But that's how much, that's how far you need to be away. It's like, it is a long tailgate, as you can see, so you do need to be quite some way away from it. But it's quite a useful feature, I must admit. It's just very slow. Gary Partridge asks, will it comfortably do 400 miles on one charge, and would the boot accommodate a folded wheelchair? And I'd love a modern car with a CD player. He's going to be deeply dissatisfied. The maximum range, the absolute maximum, is probably 240 miles. If you drive really gently from 100% to naught. Realistically, every day, I think you're more like 150, 160 miles, because you're not going to charge to 100% and you're not going to use it up till zero. So it's not the best. It's okay, just about reaches my bladder anxiety, but could be better. Easily, I mean, you don't even have to fold the wheelchair. You could put the wheelchair just straight in the boot. It's huge. And no CD player, I'm afraid. Such is modern life. Alistair Fountain is taking the mickey a little when he says, does it have a 650 mile range on a full charge, and can it recharge in 90 seconds? No. I find generally our charge time, I think the longest charge time we've done to get it to 100% one day was 45 minutes. Generally, it's half an hour, but we've done lots of little 10-minute ones as well. You can put an amazing amount of range in just 10 minutes. Alan Wilson asks, how customizable is it? Does it have rails along the floor you could make pods to fit after taking the seats out? No. The rear seat is fixed in place. It will fold, won't go completely flat, and the floor is just plain old floor under there. So no rails, no customizability. Brian Quinn asks, the pillars all around look mighty thick. Does it feel spacious and airy inside or not? Well, yeah, it does feel airy because you've got these enormous side windows. But yeah, the pillars are chunky. Look at that over the shoulder. Visibility is not very good. These pillars on a roundabout, you have to do a little dance to make sure there's not a car. I lost an entire Mercedes-Benz behind one of these pillars the other day. But very good mirrors. David Quinn asks where the battery pack ends, with a view to chopping the floor out so you can fit a wheelchair ramp in the back. Let's have a look. Of course, I'm wearing my nicest trousers today, but I think that is the battery pack there. So that is finishing just ahead of the rear axle. Whether that gives enough choppable floor, I couldn't say. Paul McCormick asks whether you could fit a penny farthing in the back. He owns one. We had hoped to meet up with him and actually test whether a penny farthing will fit in the back. I think there's a pretty decent chance. I don't know what the biggest wheels are. That may be a struggle, but it is a van, really, with seats and windows. Sammy Lou asks what the cargo capacity is. It is 1,300 litres with the seats like this, and 2,300 litres with the seat folded. But the capacity, the weight capacity, is only half a tonne. So if you've got loads of light packages, you're laughing. But heavier stuff, yeah, I think the battery does not act in its favour. What I don't know off the top of my head is what the cargo capacity of the PV5 van is. Presumably more than half a tonne. Chris Pryor asks, size-wise, how does it compare to a Volkswagen T6? I haven't got the dimensions, but it must be there or thereabouts. It's 2 metres wide and about 5 metres long, I think. I haven't got the dimensions for the actual backspace, but all that is very Googleable online. I did actually visit EV Wales, because EV Wales' previous business, and still continuing, is camper vans. So they had a look around, but they weren't overly impressed from a camper van point of view. They don't think it's an ideal start point, but basically you make a camper van out of anything, really, if you're determined enough. Andrew Higgins says, 21st century Berlingo? Well, I mean, it's a size up from the Berlingo, but it's very much the same sort of theory. It's a van with windows and seats, and I think that's one of its strengths, although rear accommodation is not the most luxurious. Ian Cowper, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, asks whether you can fit 3 adults across the back seat, and I'm sat here in the middle on what is the smallest seat, and plenty of room either side of me. He also asks whether you could fit an adult with 2 children's seats. It has got the Isofix mountings. I think you would be a bit squeezed in the middle between modern baby seats because they're enormous. But yeah, I think it would work. And don't forget, you got so much leg room in the front here as well. Carwin Massey asks if the rear seat can be removed. No, it is entirely fixed in place, and that's as much as it folds. Obviously the other side folds as well. This is just for demonstration purposes, but as you lift it up, quite difficult to do one-handed. Bit of a misthought there. You see the base does actually sink down a bit to make it a little bit lower when you're trying to put it in van mode, but no, you can't easily remove the rear bench. Chris Moat asks whether it has vehicle to load as standard. Yes, the Passenger Plus, which this is like the top spec model, it does have a 3-point plug. We've not actually used that, but it is there, and you can put it in a utility mode, so that is powered by the main battery pack. Does the DC to DC converter keep the 12-volt battery topped up from the high voltage battery when the PV5 is not in ready mode? Only if you put it in utility mode, otherwise it's running off 12-volt battery, and it'll run that down quite quickly because all the electric gear is quite thirsty. And he also says, what's the output of the DC to DC converter? I don't know, in all honesty. The output of this is 250 volts, 16 amps, if you wanted that information. Philip Bailey asks what the effect of towing Bob would be. I can't really say. Bob is our folding camper, weighs probably 750 kilos, which is half of the towing capacity of this vehicle. They are rated for 1500. I don't think Bob would unduly affect the range, to be honest. If you want to see some real world EV towing testing, head over to the Aging Wheels channel over in Missouri in America. He's got a Chevrolet Silverado, and he did a lot of testing heading up and down motorways, towing with blocks of wood to make it really draggy, cars on trailers, all sorts. Very interesting watch. David Carroll, who I think volunteers at a garden centre, asks how many bags of compost it would hold. Many bags of compost. Chris Evans says, road noise for me, it's the one thing I noticed with my Ioniq 5. Actual road noise, very quiet. What you do get, and you'll see this in the test video, hopefully the sound came across, you can really hear the suspension working. So there's quite a lot of thump if you're going over broken ground, or you know, where they've put ribbed sections in the road to make you slow down. It goes through the whole structure of the vehicle. It is a little bit loud, but generally sailing down the road it is very well insulated from noise, apart from the motor, which makes a horrible whining noise at about 50 miles an hour. Mikhail Darbaka, I hope I'm getting that one correct, says nice car except for the AC and heated seat controls that are buried in touchscreen menus. Yes, and it's rubbish. I hate it. It is by far the worst aspect of this vehicle, because you find the heated seats especially, you're pressing several times to try and get one press, and then to turn them off you've got to hit the button 3 times to get them to turn off, and it's rubbish. Here in the back you've just got a simple switch. You can operate them from the menu as well, which can be fun for winding up the kids. Just turn their seat heaters on. But yeah, rubbish. Don't like it. Adrian Moore says, can it do more than 200 miles of motorway driving with the lights and aircon on without charging? Yeah, but I think you'd be pushing it a bit, to be honest. I found this isn't very efficient at motorway speeds. Even dialing the speed back to 65 miles an hour indicated, which is about 62 in reality, it's quite thirsty. On the motorway the other day we were struggling to even get 3 miles per kilowatt hour, so it was very windy. So yeah, that is problematic, and this is the long range model. He says he takes the reviews on that page with a pinch of salt, and there doesn't seem to be any negative ones, and someone claiming they got 180 miles out of a charge on a trip to central London and back. I think they're about right there, in all honesty, because you're not going to run it from 100% to naught. You're going to stop well before that. And it's a thing with EVs, everyone talks about range, but the range is always quoted as the 0 to 100%, and in reality you don't do that. We've done about 600 miles since Friday in this car. Today's Tuesday, and generally we're finding we're stopping for natural brakes, plugging it in. We're not really running the range out and then charging. So we're charging when we need to, and even if it's still at 40 or 50%, you plug it in and charge because there's a charger there, and you might as well do something while the vehicle's just sitting there while you go off for a toilet break or whatever. That is the reality of EV use. If you just want to straight do hundreds of miles on one charge, yeah, that's not really how anyone's driving EVs. Colin Hicks asks, as with all vehicles post 2024, how easy is it to turn off the speed bongs and lane keep assist? I'll try and demonstrate. It's plugged in charging, so it might not let me. But if I turn it on, oh, it's not raining. I don't know why the wipers came on. So I've set it so when I press this button, the custom button, it brings up these things. So then I can go in here and I can turn that off. You can just press and hold the volume button and that will mute the speed limit warning, but unfortunately it still bongs every time it sees a speed limit change. And the worrying thing is that speed limit change may not necessarily be for you on that road you're driving on. It has definitely been wrong a few times. So that's how you turn that off. Lane keep assist, you press and hold that button for 5 seconds and then that goes orange and lane keep assist is disabled. But it does tend to come back on again if you put the cruise control on, so something to bear in mind. It actually works quite well. I really got used to it, especially with it's got lane keep as well, so it's not just a warning that it's going out of lane, it will hold its lane. And the Koreans seem to be the best at that. I've driven some other makes with that feature and they tend to be a bit jerky. This is very, very good with that. Obviously not infallible, which is why you have to keep your hands on the wheel. Mark Ormston says, what is the size of the battery and how many miles per kilowatt hour did you achieve? Normal driving, not foot to the floor, and not snail's pace. Well, the battery capacity on this one, the long range, is 71.2 kilowatt hours, I think, and I can show you the stats. So there we go, it's what we've done over the weekend, 3.3 miles per kilowatt hour, over almost 600 miles of driving, 17 hours. So we have done a lot of driving in the past few days. Most of that was done in 3 days, just absolutely hammering the miles, and generally just above 3 is where it seems to be sitting, which I don't think is too bad for this size of vehicle. We weren't doing 70 miles an hour, that is doing 65 mile an hour on dual carriageways, but on Sunday especially, I think we had a maximum of about 40 miles of dual carriageway. The rest was single carriageway roads, and I was going the speed limit, whatever the speed limit was. So not bad given it's a big blocky box. Ian Cairns asks how many variations there are. There's no camper, there's just a van, and it's not really a minibus, it's a passenger vehicle. There's a 7-seater version coming, and I think there are some even bigger ones on the horizon as well. I think there's a PV5 perhaps on the way. So there will be longer versions, just in case this isn't big enough. It's big enough for me. Mark Bissett asks if you can fit a mountain bike without having to fold the seat. And possibly, just about. I haven't actually got a mountain bike, so I can't test it. But I think if you took the load cover out, there is a fair chance. But it isn't too easy to. It isn't too hard, rather, to just fold the seat for a bit more capacity. But it looks a little bit tight, even if you got the steering kicked up. But yeah, I'll definitely try before you buy. Phil Thurston says, love to know the real world efficiency. We've just shown you 3.2 miles per kilowatt hours. Some of the reviews I've seen don't seem that impressive, especially when there's only been one person in it. Well, we had 4 of us and a load of stuff in the boot on Sunday, and we were still pretty easily getting 3 miles per kilowatt hour. I do tend to drive electric cars more gently, but then by the same token, I think actually going gently in an EV is probably just as quick as a normal car because you're not doing gear changes. So you don't have to be stomping on it to get that 250 Newton meters all the time. But I don't think the efficiency is bad for the size and bulk of vehicle. But yeah, we found weight made no difference at all. Gary Scott asks what it's like for parking, and it is tight. When you take it to the supermarket, yeah, it's a bit of a squeeze to get in, and then you're trying to get out the fairly chunky doors as well. So it's 2 meters wide, so it is a bit of a chunk, but it's a box, so it's actually quite easy to place in a space. And the reverse camera is very good. It's got the lines to show where you're heading. So yeah, it's not a hard thing to park at all. It's just big, and you got to squeeze it in. Covered this one, but Duncan Bladden asks what the towing capacity is. 1,500 kilos braked. 750 is the maximum for any vehicle unbraked. James Marshall says he's glad to see the luxury minivan finally being officially sold in the UK. But is it luxury? The seats are vinyl. That isn't luxury. There's lots of clever tech, and that's all well and good, but it doesn't strike me as a luxury vehicle. We've covered some of this already, but Simon Hewitt asks, how does it fare on long journeys? Range, comfort, wind noise? Yeah, range, realistically 150, 160 maybe. this time of year. Comfort, can't fault it, really. You know what I'm like, I'm always complaining that my back hurts, and it's been fine in this. Electric adjust, electric lumbar support, heated seats as well, heated steering wheel, and it's peaceful. You don't hear the suspension noise when you're on motorways, so it's really good. The stereo is nice and simple to use. All the Bluetooth integration works really nicely, so Android Auto. So yeah, it's a lovely vehicle for traveling long distance, in all honesty. Mike Gibson rather cheekily says, how does it handle bumpy, twisty roads? Really well, actually. It rides surprisingly well. It's very composed and good fun down a twisty road. He also says, what about deep snow? We ain't got any, so I can't tell you. It has got a snow mode. It's got eco mode, normal mode, and snow mode. There is no sport mode, and rightly so. Dave Burrow asks, is it K-car sized? No, it's enormous. Way big. You can fit a K-car in it. Not really a question, but Ben High says, I'd like to know why anybody would buy that over a much nicer looking VW ID Buzz. I mean, look at the price. This is £38,000. This is the top model. The ID Buzz starts at £60,000. So it looks really worth that much. That is a heck of a lot of money. I've not driven an ID Buzz, but I can't see it doing anything that would make me think, yes, I shall spend an extra £22,000 of my money. Andrew Archer asks, what's the process for you getting such vehicles? Well, since the very first day of the channel, I've approached manufacturers and said, can I test your vehicles? Most manufacturers, not Ford, notably, have a press fleet that they'll give out to members of the press. And if you've got a website or a YouTube channel with a strong enough following, then you qualify. Different manufacturers have different limits as to what sort of following they want. So you can't just rock up on day one and say, I would like to do this. Although that's exactly what Nissan did. And that got me started down this road, because that was the first video I ever made, Nissan Leaf. Yeah, that's how they do it. They got a press fleet, so I just borrow it for a week. Very standard thing in the press. Jakob in Denmark just says, but why? I guess he's not a fan, but for everyday daily transport, oh my days, I love electric. I wish I had the convenience of being able to charge at home. I don't. But yeah, I love electric. I love the driving experience. After all, you know, what am I comparing it with? The vehicle on the fleet that should do what this does is Bella de Bolingo, who has a clattering 4-cylinder diesel engine. It's not like I'm missing anything in the oral experience with that thing, is it? It's more akin, perhaps, to Betty, because most of the time I'm in Betty, my Australian Ford, you're burbling along on very low revs and there's instant torque. So it's quiet, it's peaceful. Really, I think she was my gateway drug to wanting an electric car. Robert Rice asks, is it fun to drive? Yeah, I would say so. I've had a really nice time driving this, and I've had far too much fun on the Devil's Bridge Road. So, yeah, it's good. I like it. Craig Hutchinson asks when the 6- and 7-seater versions are coming. I don't know. I think this year, later on this year. That will make a difference. There's a lot of wasted space back there that could be seats. Benswood, again, real world range. This is what everyone cares about. And I'm going to say 150, 160 miles is your real world range, not using the full extent of the battery, because people don't. Recharge time for empty to full it's kind of a misnomer, because people don't do that. You stick charging where you can and where you stop. But to give an example, even on a rapid charger, to go from very low to absolutely full is probably going to take the best part of 2 hours, if not slightly longer, because it can't charge at the fastest rate for the bottom percent of the battery and the top percent. So it's another reason for sticking to 80-85% charge, is it's quicker to get there than it is the rest. So this is stuff you learn. Either you want to learn to do this or you don't. But yeah, I mean, we could have a debate about whether we were enforced down the EV road. We're getting very mixed messages from the government when they're saying, oh yes, you can charge at home, it's nice cheap electricity, but then we've got a road price. Oh, and public charging is really expensive. It's a big debate. Melvin Owen asks, will it get to Spain and possibly back by the end of the week? Sadly, we haven't got time to do that. We have thought about it though. But if we did Portsmouth-Caen, I mean, Portsmouth is just over a charge away, so we'd have to charge on the way to Portsmouth. And then Caen to our new house in Spain is exactly 1,000 miles. So that's quite a lot of charging. And at those speeds, probably not the most efficient. So yeah, it's problematic still. This is the problem. Long range hauling is a little problematic for electric. Nick West asks how much the first year road tax is, and I don't know, but someone else has answered and said £10, but there's probably that's probably going to go up as the vehicle ages, I guess. So one to keep an eye on that. It does change. Yeah, everything's changing. Mike Smith, is the boot big enough for a wheelchair plus luggage space? Yeah, I would probably say so. I mean, it depends if you're folding the wheelchair. If you're folding the wheelchair, loads of room, not a problem at all. Andrew Taylor says it looks like something out of a 1970s sci-fi movie, but not in a good way. Ned Gibbons asks if I could fit the Invacar in the back. I don't think there's quite enough length. Tuck's 3 meters long, so not quite. Right, questions from David Evans. He's got many. This is slightly cheating. Can bikes fit in the back, wheels off if needed? Yes, I think we've covered that. Can it take a tow bar? Yes, you can get a tow bar for an external bike rack. But bear in mind then, you're not going to be able to open the tailgate. But I guess that's generally a problem. Some of them pivot, don't they? So you'd have to watch that. Can you sleep in the back of it? I mean, you can sleep in anything. I've slept in a Dacia Jogger. It didn't even have the bed kit in it. I don't think it'd be a very comfortable place to stay without some sort of conversion, some fold-out conversion, because the floor is not completely flat from tailgate to the back of these seats. Jonas Hoffman asks how much is the total length needed in the garage if you connect the front nose charger to a DC wall box. 4 meters 70 will fit. This will not, I suspect. Bear in mind also, it's very tall. It's almost 2 meters tall, and that has put us off going into a few car parks, I can tell you. Mike Francis, are the seats comfortable enough for 3 hours non-stop travelling? I don't think at any point have we travelled for 3 hours non-stop on this trip, but we have done a lot of miles and it is very comfortable. Matt Byrne, it's about half the price of a new ID Buzz, but is it half the vehicle? No, I genuinely don't see why you would pay that much for an ID Buzz. Chris Pryor asks, does it seem to be well screwed together, and what's under the snub bonnet? Yeah, very well screwed together. Let's have a look. Under the bonnet, you've got your fluids, brake fluid, your coolant for the battery, screen wash, 12 volt battery which powers all your lights and wipers and everything. The charging gubbins is down there, and the motor is beneath. It drives the front wheels. You've got all the HVAC systems as well, and your anti-lock brakes. There's a lot crammed in under here, and I do like that it's got a front charger. So I'm only charging gently, so it's not having to do any battery management on the temperature. It goes back today. I only need to put a little bit in, so I'm using a type 2 charger, just a small one here rather than the big rapid charger in the background. So I've just been doing that while I've been filming. Phil Stillwell asks, where are the headlights? Because it's not very apparent at first, but this is them, and they are very, very bright. They're also LED headlamps, so that helps with the efficiency. They're much more efficient than halogens. Andrew Eve has quite a lengthy rant about EVs generally. I'm not sure he's a fan. And a lot of his hatred comes from the exaggerated environmental reasons. But yeah, you have to bear in mind, oil is not exactly good for the environment. It has to be dug out of the ground. It has to be transported. Quite often there are major spillages which are hugely damaging for the environment. So I know that there are issues with sourcing some of the battery materials, battery technology moving on all the time, trying to get away from the use of cobalt, for instance. But the environment isn't my main reason. But I tell you what, when you drive around towns, or walk around towns and cities rather, you certainly notice which vehicles aren't EVs. It can't be healthy to have so much traffic that's moving so slowly, belching out fumes everywhere it goes. So local environmentally, I definitely see the advantage. The more wider picture of sourcing all the parts, manufacturer, disposal, I can see the argument is not quite so clear cut, and a huge amount depends on where your electricity comes from. In the UK, we actually have quite a large amount of renewables, but then some of those renewables are wood pellets sourced from Canadian forests, so they're being transported all around the world. There's a lot of questions. It's not a clear-cut thing. Electric cars are not a magic band-aid that will fix all our woes. Ali Wade asks about comfort level for driver and passenger on rough roads. Absolutely fine, rides really well, doesn't skip about unloaded, feels planted all the time. We like it. The final one, Jamie AD, how did you get it for a week? Well, we've covered that. But if you speak to dealers, some dealers I think are doing 48-hour test drives, so it's worth contacting them. But I'm all done. It's charged up to where I need to go. So I'll say thank you very much. All these questions were asked by people on our Facebook page. Do go and join the Facebook page if you haven't already. And we'll see you in a future video. Bye. So that's your slow speed. Look, we're charging at just 10.8 kilowatts. This is more akin to what you could expect to see at home.